You are now locked in and listening to The Issue.
This guy is a franchise quarterback, and no, I don't want to hear any pushback on that.
It feels like a top 10 roster to me. It feels like it can win a championship.
This is The Issue.
Yo, what's up? We are back. This is The Issue, and I am freaking pumped for this episode. Week 1 of the NFL today. It is September 8th. It is Thursday.
Kicks off tonight.
Tonight with Buffalo and the Rams.
Yeah, the Bills going to LA and getting the Rams. So we're split on this. We'll get to that later. But
oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're split on this, but we'll get to it later. Interesting, Rams are raising the banner, right? They're going to have the whole ceremony thing. Josh Allen is starting his campaign, what we think might be an MVP Super Bowl type season. So
it is going to be insane, and it all starts tonight. Finally, we've been waiting for it. We've been predicting all offseason. We've been making rankings, and it's finally here, and you're going to get all of our predictions in the second segment. But for the first segment, we have a rant to start off like normal. Tim's going to rant on college football a little bit. Little rant you texted me earlier, said you had some things to say, so excited for that.
Yeah, it was good. It's been a decent college football, the past week or so, might as well.
Yeah, the backyard brawl was insane. We watched that.
It was good.
And then to finish off the show in the third segment, we will have our second installment of Bets on a Budget, and we're going to have that pretty much every week from here on out with the NFL season. So make sure we're getting you all the good bets there, what to look out for, where to put your money, and win something in the process. But yeah. I know you came in today pretty fired up about college football, so I'm going to let you start with that.
So, right. The whole reclassification thing, right? I was slightly hesitant about it, right? I think USC playing Purdue in November isn't necessarily like the football that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I think Purdue on a random Saturday in November belongs in, like Northwestern, right? Instead of USC being there.
Yeah.
But after this, this past week-ish, I think I'm kind of on board with it, right? I think college football has a really, really big boring issue, right? There were 94 games in Division I, single A, right? Not counting like, FCS football.
Yeah.
94 games in Division I this weekend. I had to not run to a television, but I planned my day to be able to watch 3 of them. 3 of them. The Backyard Brawl, that Oregon game, and then the Notre Dame-Georgia game. Or no, I'm sorry, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Georgia, Oregon game.
Yes.
That's it. God, I'm sorry. People are like, oh, but what about Arkansas and Cincinnati? What, you mean Arkansas is going to finish, probably like 8-4, or they'll be like 4th or 5th in the SEC. They'll probably play in like the Alamo Bowl or something like that. Like, no, I don't care.
Just like
they're gonna whack Cincinnati. I don't care to watch that.
Like Kentucky and Miami of Ohio today.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't get. People are like, well, they're ranked, okay. Like outside the top 15, nobody cares anyway. I mean, I don't care to watch Alabama pound Utah State into the ground and have their third string, guys coming out to start the second half. I'm gonna be up 40. I mean, even some of the good games, I don't care about. Well, what about Penn State? Okay, Penn State's going to finish 3rd right behind Ohio State and Michigan like they do, almost every single year.
Yeah.
Because once again, like every single year, their quarterback and coach are overrated. It's the same program. No matter, look, these are 17, 18-year-old kids coming in. Your program is what builds them. They don't build programs. College is different like that, right? You get Joe Burrow in the NFL, he can build your franchise, build your program, your professional program per se. You very, very rarely, like once in maybe 20, 25 years, will get somebody that comes in and transforms an entire program. Sure. Again, even go back to the Joe Burrow one, who's legendary for creating Cincinnati and taking LSU to that next step. Well, LSU was bad before him, and, they're bad now. Not bad, but not super competitive.
Yes.
Right, the 3 years before Joe and then so far since haven't been super competitive.
I mean, you could look at Clemson with Trevor Lawrence with that, too. But it's a small, select group of quarterbacks or just players in general that are going to transform a college culture. I understand that.
Right. And so you look at, off the top of your head, you're thinking like Reggie Bush. It's really, really hard to think of these guys.
I mean, they set themselves apart when they do something like that.
Right. And so my point is, okay, Penn State's going to finish 3rd anyway. Like I don't need to rush to a TV screen to see them play at Purdue. Right? And Wisconsin's probably even better, so they might even finish 4th. Right? And I'd argue even another year under Mel Tucker, Michigan State might be better. I mean, there's a meaningful game issue. I want more backyard brawls. I want more, F it. I'll play you anywhere, anytime. I don't care. Right? The old Pittsburgh shirts on ice or on grass. Well,
Yeah.
you finish it, right?
It runs.
Fantastic. Right? I don't want Alabama on home turf smacking Utah State. I don't care. That sucks tremendously for the sport. It's not good. Proposition. Week 1, you play your biggest out-of-conference rival.
I like that.
Either Pitt, Penn State, or Pitt, West Virginia. Maybe not biggest, but you play one of your top 3 out-of-conference rivals, right? So you'd have Pitt, Penn State, Pitt, West Virginia. You could even argue me into Pitt, Cincinnati, because it was such a big rivalry in the Big East, right? Heinz Field, Acrisure, probably wouldn't sell out to the degree that WVU did, but it'd get a pretty packed stadium for a Cincinnati Pitt game. Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. And if you had that in Cincinnati, that's a big game for a Cincinnati type team,
right?
One of your biggest out-of-conference rivals, week 1. The final week of the season is your biggest in-conference rival.
I like that.
Make it interesting, start to finish. I mean, even the small schools will like this. Like, do you think Utah State fans want to go see them get waxed in Tuscaloosa today? No. How about they go compete against some Mountain West team week 1? Warm up a little bit. At least it's a competitive football game. Right? While Alabama goes and plays, I don't know, maybe week 1, Clemson or something like that. They've been a rivalry in the recent past, right? They play Clemson. Then the final week of the year, they'll get Bama, Georgia in the Iron Bowl.
Yes.
Or I'm sorry, no, Bama, Auburn in the Iron Bowl. Or Bama, Georgia might not be a bad idea.
That would be a pretty good one as well.
Right? So you get rivalries as bookends. I mean, come on. What do we want? I like college football, and according to ratings, though, it's dying a little bit across the country.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we need the USC versus Ohio State once a year. That game, I will guarantee you, I am running to the TV stand just to watch that.
Yes.
Right? I mean, we need a Bama, Texas every year. We need Miami to be able to compete against Clemson. I like Pitt, and I love that they're able to compete against Clemson. That's not sustainable, and that's not nationwide success, right? We're not a big hub per se, like a Miami, right? If Miami's good, the whole sport's good, right? I mean, this is really good in the NFL, right? Kansas City, dead smack in the middle of in the country, right? They kind of have a small town feel to them. Oh, but also the big time LA Rams are good. The kind of hippie, weird Denver is really good, right? Vegas, where it's kind of transient and it's a really, really weird city, they're good. But then again, also there's small town Green Bay that's good, right? Like, you need diversity. You need some bigger games, right? I mean, I'm going to tune in to watch Jacksonville and Washington.
Because it's interesting.
Yeah, because it's going to be a good game. I mean, hell, Cleveland is starting Jacoby Brissett. And Carolina is starting Baker Mayfield. Their coach is probably going to get fired. Their offensive line looks like a middle school offensive line. And it's a must-watch football game. It's must-watch. I'm just saying. Right? They have an interesting problem in college football. And I think the realignment at least solves it a little bit.
Yes, I think so too. The big thing with me for college football is where'd the rivalries go? I feel like those old school like backyard brawls, and I mean Pitt, Penn State is a great example of it. I mean, just games where there is so much animosity between the two teams. What happened to that? I know you've seen the video of Michigan and Ohio State before the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
They're going at each other.
Not the Rose Bowl, but I think they played at the Rose Bowl one time. But yeah, I got you.
It was one of those. It was a big game between the two. I don't know if it was just a regular Michigan-Ohio State game or what.
Who knows? But it was crazy.
But it was nuts.
They're chirping each other in the locker room and everything.
It was a real rivalry, and I just don't think we see enough of that in college football anymore.
Actually, I think that's at the Big House, which is oh no, not at the Big House. That's Michigan's. It's at the Horseshoe. That's Ohio State's. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, no, I think it solves an issue of being interesting, right? If there's 94 games and I really, truly will carve time out of my day to watch 3 of them, that's a problem, right? We need that number to be somewhere around 20.
Yeah.
Right? That'd be ideal, minimum 10.
See, there's a reason why you need a red zone in the NFL, because every game is so interesting, so you have to watch all of them at the same time.
I don't need red zone in college football.
No, you don't.
I just need a second TV. I'll take 2 games, thanks.
Exactly. There you go.
So, all right, let's get into some hits and misses. We'll actually start with a little college football one here. All right, then, hit number 1. So I said when Pitt got Keaton Slovis from USC as the transfer, I said that he'd be really nice, kind of like a pro-style quarterback, accurate. He's going to command the offense, kind of like Kenny Pickett did. Decently athletic enough to get out of the pocket, but not a speedster, not necessarily a dual-threat guy. He's going to deliver the ball on time, accurately. He's got a big arm. He can get down the field. Yeah. I like him as a pickup, and I think he's going to allow allow Pittsburgh to compete. I mean, big time this year.
He looked good, especially for his first outing. The only thing to me, I don't know if you noticed it, he looked a little bit small to me, like standing back there. And I looked up his height and weight, and it said he was 6'3", 220. I don't buy that for some reason because he just looked small back there. I don't know what it was.
I don't know.
Like,
well, I mean, to be fair, that WVU defensive line was ferocious.
It was, but nothing like Pitt's D-line. Oh.
No, definitely not. But I mean, they were all over him. So I mean, maybe that's why, because when you have 6'6" dudes around you all the time, you might look a little small.
Look a little smaller, yeah. But either way, he looked good.
He did look good. Yeah. All right, miss number 1. It's not technically a miss yet, but we have the Saints at 7-10, and like the more I think about it, I stew on it like every day. And today, being the day of the big day for the NFL.
Yes.
It's like I've been really thinking about it. It might be a bit low. So with the Bucs, injured, and who knows, how they're going to look this year. The other two teams in their division are just point blank bad. They might be able to sneak into a weak NFC playoff picture. Might. I think the roster's underrated, and I don't know if we saw it a couple weeks back. I just worry about Jameis Winston. And I think their coach-quarterback duo is a little weak compared to the top half of the league.
It is. And, I mean, they're lucky they're in a really bad division, though.
Right. Well, I mean, just think about some of the teams that are around that same level. So, Dallas, I think they're in a similar category to Dallas. Maybe one slight step down.
I'd even say closer to Washington and quarterback coach.
Right. But I think I'd take Rivera and Wentz right now.
I think I would say they're pretty close if you're going to compare.
Right, and so my point is, like, in other teams that are around the same classification and same skill level, they have a severe disadvantage at coach quarterback. So that's what worries me, but their roster is really underrated, so who knows? All right, hit number 2. This may be my best hit as of now. And it was looking touch and go there for a second, but as always, just take a deep breath. I'm mostly right. And I know the Yankees are still comfortably in front of people in the playoff race and the standings, but, I mean, good Lord, they just wrapped up the worst month of baseball in their historic franchise. In the entire history of the franchise, they've never played a worse month of baseball than they did this past August. I mean, it has been point blank bad. At every turn, they can't pitch, they can't hit, there's errors. I mean, they have been terrible. And I said this, you can't hit that many home runs. Well, no, you can. You can't strike out as much as they do. They think that strikeouts and home runs cancel. That's not the case. You got to look at strikeouts and walks. They don't get on base enough. Right, so one swing of the bat is 1 run, as opposed to where one swing of the bat can be 2 or 3 runs if you get some traffic on. So they're not maximizing their potential because they strike out too much. They need to walk a little bit more. I've been saying that for 2 years now. That brand of baseball is not sustainable, and I'm right. I mean, that worst month in the history of the franchise.
When you're
been around for hundreds plus years.
When you're growing up and you're learning how to play baseball and you're playing upper level travel baseball and looking to get recruited into college, learning how to play situational baseball is probably one of the biggest parts. Learning bunt defenses, hit and runs, being able to move runners around the bases and get people into scoring position and allow yourself to score runs that don't come from just home runs.
Yep.
There's a whole other side to baseball, and if you're just focusing on home runs, and yes, it's flashy, yes, it looks great on Instagram when the Yankees can post like 4 in a day sometimes, sure, but that's not going to help you win games, especially in a competitive conference.
That division is brutal. I mean, even the Red Sox, who are in last place, are only three games under 500. Now, I don't think they're good. They're 3 games under 500. I missed number 2. So I lost last year in predictions, and I think by like a 2 game, I was 2 games back. Just way too many misses for me, and I'm looking to get back on top this year. So the entire last year, that's a miss. I mean, you're
chalking it up. So you're taking ownership of that today.
We're gonna wipe it clean. We're showering it off.
Okay.
Road to success starts right now. I'm getting back on top. Can't let you go back to back. Just can't happen.
I'm going back to back though. That's the thing.
So
we got 3 splits.
We're gonna wipe it clean right now.
We got 3 splits this week.
Miss number 2. Wipe it clean. Yes, we do.
It's gonna be good. Stick around for the second segment. You'll like that. It's coming up soon. Probably like 5-ish minutes.
So hit number 3. We did our Super Bowl predictions, right? What was that, last week? And it came out around the same time as Colin Coward's, right? And I promise you we had no idea. We didn't even look at his.
Ours actually came out first. Ours came out first. We posted that first.
Cool. Well, we had the exact same outcome as him. We both have Bills over the Rams. I mean, he is kind of a smart person. He's kind of tied into the NFL. Now, granted, it's anybody's best guess, but
we posted that first.
I'm just saying, we're pretty good.
Kind of like how
you might as well just watch this then instead of the herd.
Exactly. Pro Football Focus. They took our hits and misses from us that one time. Remember? You made a TikTok about it.
I did. I did. Yeah, it's a good time.
It's a great segment. We're in it
all
right
I'm
now.
saying, we're good at this, all right? Not just a hat rack, guy. Come on. I got something in here. All right, miss number 3. I said safety is not a position that I really like to pay. It's weird. A lot of good teams are paying for safeties. Right, the Steelers are doing it. Philly's got some money tied up there. Buffalo's got money there.
Right,
the Chargers do.
We've seen this trend in the past, though.
Yeah.
What does it always lead to? Then you can't pay the positions that matter.
I agree with you, but at the end of the day, do we really think the Chargers are spiraling down the drain?
No, but I don't think this is a step in the right direction for them, because then...
Well, definitely not.
Well, then what happens when Jay Herb needs a new contract? And then what happens when he needs a couple weapons?
Well, yes. Now, the weapons, that's what would worry me. Paying Herbert does not worry me. Just give him a check. It's a blank check guy.
Okay.
Or there's a certain guy, there's 1 or 2 per generation that you just say, here's the check, write whatever you want on it.
And Jay Herb's one of them.
Like Brady in his prime, Manning in his prime, right? Mahomes in his prime. I think Allen was that guy. I think Justin Herbert's that guy. Those are guys where you're just like, yep, here, just whatever number you want, you'll have it. Doesn't matter. And then we'll figure the rest out later. But still, it does worry me. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. I don't think it's a great idea, but like I said, a lot of, maybe not great teams, but a lot of competitive teams. I think Philadelphia's going to win their division. Pittsburgh's always competitive. Buffalo's going to win their division. We have LA winning their division. Those are all teams that are paying some pretty good money to safety. So, hey, I don't know. Call me crazy.
It'll be interesting.
We'll see how it works out.
Yeah, we'll be able to sit back and watch and
see how it plays out.
Hopefully throw in a hit column.
Well, I mean, maybe, but it's going to be a hit and a miss at the same time. Because if it's a hit that they shouldn't pay safeties, then all these teams that are in first place probably won't be in first place.
That's true. I'm not saying it affects it as much this year, but
maybe in the long run,
like in the next 2 to 3 seasons.
That's fair. All right, well, come back next segment because we will have our predictions. Literally every game for this coming week, starting tonight with the Bills at the Rams. So don't go anywhere. Come on back. All right, we are back. Second segment. The moment you've all been waiting for. If we had Bruce Buffer here in studio, we'd have him. You did the whole, it's time, right?
Yeah, the
fighting
UFC.
Out of this corner versus that corner, right? A heavyweight, main event of the evening.
The first one.
Yes.
Week 1 predictions.
Week 1, and it feels good because everything kind of builds to this moment, right?
Yes.
We started this podcast 2 years ago when there was no such thing as sports.
In the middle of COVID. We started in July
and
of 2020.
so content was hard to come by. You still get some of those slow months, slow weeks here in the towards the end of July, August, and it feels good to be in a spot where we now have including playoffs, like 20-some straight weeks
of just football.
Of football to talk about, and it warms the heart. It really does.
There will be
it's right there.
We will not be short on content for a while. We will actually be slammed. We get to the point, I think, like mid-football season where we're actually having to cut things out of the show because it just won't fit within the 3 segments.
Right. Because there's so much football.
Which just makes for a better show when you have quality content like that getting jammed into an hour. I mean,
I agree. So this segment, we will of course have our predictions. So me and Luke tend to agree on a lot of things, but we'll have 2, 3, sometimes 4 games we don't agree on, and we keep track every week who wins, who loses, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I won last year, so I'm going to repeat. But without further ado, let's just go into it. Week 1 of the NFL season. Here are all of the predictions. Here we go.
All right, so starting off on the Thursday night game, you got the Bills at the Rams, right? Okay. So the Bills are, I believe, favored by 2.5. Yep, they are. Over-under is 52.5, in case you're wondering. We'll talk about bets in the third segment, but we're split on this one, so a great way to start the predictions is one we're split on. See, personally, I like the Rams, and we kind of both are picking opposite sides, but for the same reason, because we think it could have different outcomes. So I think because the Rams, they're hoisting their banner, they're doing a whole ceremony, I think they're going to be really amped up to play in that atmosphere. I think SoFi is going to be rocking. And so I think for that reason, I think the Rams have a slight edge. Plus, it's not, yes, they could have a Super Bowl hangover, but they've brought in so many new pieces that are going to be hungry to show out. I don't think it affects them as much as normal teams. I will take the Rams.
Look.
And you take it away.
I'm just saying, I think the banner raising, the ring ceremony, everything that's going to go on that night, I guess tonight, it's going to be, what it's going to do is make them complacent, maybe a little bit lazy, I feel like, to start the game. They starting off on such a high moment with hoisting the banner, and then guess what? It comes to real football, and guess who else is hungry? Josh Allen and the Bills. This is a team that has been right there for the past 2 seasons now. And this is finally looking like their year. They're the favorites. They have a lot to prove. They're on the road. They're in the biggest stadium, I'd say, in the NFL now, right? SoFi is kind of the staple stadium of the league. So
definitely up there, yeah.
The Bills are walking in there. They're hungry. They remember watching Casey on the field celebrate against them again for a second time last year. They're coming out with a vengeance. I like Bills.
I don't think you're crazy, but I'm just going to go with my hunch with the Rams. That got me into some trouble last year, though, so we'll see. All right, so going to Sunday now. Saints-Falcons. I think we both agree on this. This is pretty simple.
Yeah.
I said it earlier in the show in hits and misses. The Saints have a pretty underrated roster, and I think even we might have underrated it. Now, I don't think they're going to be world beaters and go on to be the first seed in the NFC, but I think they will be a solid football team and certainly good enough to beat the tanking Falcons.
Yes,
absolutely.
I think so. And, I mean, the Falcons are a team that I'm never going to put my trust in unless they're playing somebody so unbelievably garbage. But this one, I think it's pretty obvious. It's New Orleans.
Yeah, I think another obvious one is San Francisco at Chicago. Now, granted, we did discuss this about 2 weeks ago, right? Saying that's a pretty big line at 6.5 for San Francisco for me to swallow if I'm a bettor, because the Bears being at home getting 6.5 points, that's a decent bet.
Yeah.
But again, we'll do betting next segment. But I do, at the end of the day, think the Niners are going to win the football game. And I don't think Trey Lance has to be even good. No. I don't think he does. I think they're going to run the football. Their defense is going to play pretty well against Justin Fields and an inexperienced offense. I'll take the 49ers.
Yes, same. I mean, he just has to play his role, really. It just don't make mistakes.
Yeah, pick up a couple third downs with your legs. Yeah. Give me 1 or 2 big throws, and then you're good.
That's it. Yeah. You don't need to do anything game-changing. It's the Bears. It's
1 or less interceptions. I'm a happy guy.
This is kind of a good way to start them out, I think. It's a good road test to get them ready, and it's against a lesser opponent in the Bears. So I like that, 49ers.
I agree. We'll go to Pittsburgh and Cincinnati now, also in that 1 o'clock window at Cincinnati, of course. Since he's favored by 6.5, over-under is 44. It's an interesting over-under. Could end up being a little low in my eyes, but regardless, I want to say Steelers, but I can't. At the end of the day, the Bengals have a more talented roster, I think, top to bottom.
Yeah.
Outside of defense, which is not, we know now that in 2022, that's not where games are won and lost.
I know.
They're on the offensive side of the football, so I'm going to go Cincinnati. Because I think that I like their quarterback situation better. I like their weapons situation. Their offensive line's improved. And I don't know if I can bet against Joe Burrow.
No, yeah, I like Cincinnati as well. It's just really hard to put your money on a team like Pittsburgh when you have a question mark at quarterback, the most important position. And the offensive line, horrendous. Whoever's back there isn't even going to have time to throw the ball. Najee's going to have trouble finding lanes. And, I mean, the Bengals don't even have that great of a linebacking core. I mean, it's improved a little bit, but it's still not, top of the league.
Yeah, it was part of their weakness last year. So
I mean, even with that, I don't see the Steelers being able to move the ball as much as that Cincinnati offense. I think they're way more high-powered. They're more gelled.
And as a bettor and as somebody who's basically guessing games, right? I mean, educated guessing. It's really hard to gauge Pittsburgh because they've had a steady position at quarterback for 18 years. So it's really tough for me to gauge. Is Mitch the guy? Is Kenny the guy? Are they going to be good? It's tough. So yeah, Cincinnati. All right, moving on. We have the Eagles and the Lions. So at Detroit, I went back and forth on this. I think the Lions are going to be a pretty good football team. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to take a little bit, though, right? We saw them kind of building at the end of last year. I still think they need another 6 games to really find out how to win consistently against at least decent teams.
Absolutely.
And I do think Philly is a much improved team. I think they're going to run the football really effectively. The Lions can get gashed in the run game a little bit, which is a really bad matchup then for them against Philadelphia. I'll take Philly. I think Jalen Hurts makes a couple throws here and there. They win by about a touchdown.
Oh, yeah, and let's not leave out, A.J. Brown over there in Philly now, too, who's going to be absolutely dogging on the Lions this week. But I do see the Lions improving soon, but I don't think it's enough this year to beat the Eagles week 1.
I agree. All right, Patriots at the Dolphins. Again, went back and forth a little bit because Belichick does own young quarterbacks. I would still consider Tua a young quarterback.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the Patriots also struggle going to Miami. They have for years, especially in heat like this. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be humid. It's going to be hot. Mm-hmm. The Patriots have always struggled down there. A lot of teams have. So have the Steelers.
Yes.
Miami's favored by 3. I think that feels about right. I think they win by about 4 or 5 points. I'll take Miami. I think Tua has a pretty decent debut under Mike McDaniel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
debut.
I like the Dolphins as well. It really boils down to I don't like the Patriots this year, and
they don't have enough perimeter weapons.
No, and I have so much more faith in the Dolphins, and I don't even like Tua, but in this matchup, Dolphins.
All right, next one is a no-brainer. I mean, the Ravens and the Jets. The Jets are going to start Joe Flacco, so I mean, we'll take the Ravens, both of us.
Yes.
Do you want to even touch anything else on that? They're favored by 7. I would hammer that.
Ravens.
That's ridiculous. I mean, I would absolutely hammer that. All right, the Jaguars going to Washington. So we're also split on this one. You like the Jags. Why?
I think this is the year where the Jags start to rebound a little bit. We have them at 6-11, and I think this is one of the weaker teams that they're going to be able to play. And I think week 1 they don't have any injuries yet. Trevor Lawrence looked all right preseason, but he has a very high ceiling. We know that. I think the roster around him is going to start to improve this year. The toxicity is gone from the locker room with Urban Meyer, so you kind of have a fresh start. I don't love everything that Washington has been about for the past 2 to 3 seasons. Sure, Wentz is fine, but can we see some proof first? I like Jacksonville a little bit more than I like Washington. I don't love either of the two, but I'm taking the Jags.
That's fair. I think I'm going to go with Washington just because of the continuity in the coaching staff. I think having a lot of turnover in the coaching staff, getting Doug Peterson, I think it might take a couple weeks. I'm with you. I think the Jaguars take a step forward, and that overall it's a good move for Doug Peterson to be there, and it's going to be Trevor Lawrence breakout year, yada, yada, all that. I just think it's going to take a couple weeks. So week 1, continuity, more veteran quarterback going into a more stable system. I'll probably take Washington. No, barely more stable, but a little more stable.
Well,
I'll take Washington.
We'll see.
All right, so we're on 2 now. So we got Panthers and the Cleveland Browns.
Okay.
Now this is a must-watch between 2 bad teams, which is why I love the NFL. We both like Carolina. I think Baker's out for some revenge, and I don't think the Browns with Jacoby Brissett are going to be super dynamic. And if Amari Cooper's not on his game, who do you throw the football to?
Yeah, I don't see how this one finishes up well for the Browns. I mean, they're paying Baker to play against them. Let's not forget that. In a revenge game, Baker plays chippy already. So, I mean, it's not like you're going to get a less chippy version of Baker Mayfield playing against you. And he can be on. He looked good in the preseason. His shoulders healed up a little bit. So, I like the Panthers.
I like the Panthers, too. We got Colts at Titans. Or, I'm sorry, Colts at Texans. My bad. It's a lot of points to swallow. The Colts are an 8-point favorite. That's a lot for a week 1 at home, right?
Oh, yeah.
Bad teams don't know they're bad yet. That's the saying. I do like the Colts, that being said. But it's an interesting look at for the Texans because they can run the football a little bit. Davis Mills isn't great, but I wouldn't say he's bad. I do think the Colts win by about a touchdown. Still under the 8-point spread, though, so it's at least worth a look. But no, I'll take the Colts on this one.
I mean, when you have a running game like Indianapolis does, you have an offensive line like Indianapolis does, and now you add an experienced veteran quarterback of Matt Ryan, look, their weapons are definitely lacking a little bit. Receiving-wise, not great.
They're thin.
But you have a great backfield with Jonathan Taylor. You have a great offensive line. So that alone is going to be able to buy you time in the passing game, allow those less talented receivers to get open. And plus, Matt Ryan can move around a little bit. It's not like he's a complete statue. He'll be able to make some things happen. I like the Colts.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, we both agree on that one. All right, Giants at Titans. We agree on this one as well. This is the Titans. We both think the Giants might be one of the worst teams in football.
Yeah, it's not even that close.
Yeah, I think Derrick Henry goes nuts. Tannehill makes a couple throws.
I mean, if you watched last week,
Daniel Jones looks bad.
Watching last week, we had Derrick Henry as our projected MVP, or no, offensive player of the Was he offensive or MVP?
I think he might have been MVP.
No, MVP was Justin Herbert. Offensive Player of the Year was Derrick Henry. Yes.
Is that right?
Yep.
I have no idea. Whatever.
It was last week.
Sure, I'll trust you. Whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Titans. That's an easy one. Packers at Vikings.
Okay.
So this one's interesting. We were kind of back and forth. But I think at the end of the day, the Vikings at home, I think they're going to split.
Yeah.
Right? So we like the Vikings to win the division. I think they split the two matchups, each winning at home. I don't love them going to Lambeau and winning, but I also don't love the Packers going to Minnesota and winning.
Yes.
Now, it is tough, first-year coach, so we'll see how it goes, how they gel. But also, first time with Aaron with a lot of new receivers. So
really
I think they're both going to be a little handicap.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the Vikings is kind of, is it a weird? I don't want to say clear choice, but it kind of is for me.
I mean, this is definitely. I don't know. I don't know if it's as clear for me. It's kind of fringe, because I know how good Aaron is and how he can elevate a receiving core. But at the same time, Kirk and the Vikings just kind of make sense here. I like the Vikings, at least while they're at home.
Yeah.
Now, when we see this matchup again and it's at Lambeau,
Then we'll see. It's a toss-up.
it depends a lot on how the seasons have gone to that point. But I mean, to start off, I'll take the Vikings.
All right. Chiefs at Cardinals next. So I think we both have the Chiefs here. At the end of the day, it's Mahomes, and Mahomes and Andy Reid don't lose in September. I think they've lost maybe one game in September. And the Cardinals, it's been a really noisy offseason, right? DeAndre Hopkins gets suspended, the whole contract thing. Kyler's calling plays.
Yeah.
So for me, I just think the Chiefs are a little, more controlled, calm, cool, collected,
Yeah.
They seem a little bit more prepared going into the season. I'll take the Chiefs. The line's interesting at 4.5. We'll get into that later.
Yeah, I'll take Chiefs as well. I mean, I don't see this being a game where the Cardinals shock the world and beat the Chiefs week one. It's just not a storyline I can get behind, especially when you have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid early on, like you said.
Yeah.
I think one or two losses is all they have in the month of September. So, I mean, you can't bet against the Chiefs there. So.
I agree. All right, Raiders at the LA Chargers. We have the Chargers going pretty deep in the playoffs. We have them winning the division. Winning this game at home as well. I think the Raiders, again, new coach, new system, a lot of new pieces as well. You get Devontae Adams, Chandler Jones, a couple guys in the secondary, a couple of new offensive linemen. I think it's going to take some time to gel. I think they will end up being a pretty competitive football team, but right now I think the Chargers have a more, first of all, better roster and a more prepared roster. So I'll go with the Chargers. They're favored by 3.5. That feels about right to me.
Yeah, I like the Chargers here. I mean, we like the Raiders too, but we still have them as last in the division. I mean, it's a really tough division. And this is just one of those games that they're going to have to battle through, and I don't think they're going to come out the winners in it either. I like what Justin Herbert has and their weapons down in L.A. a lot more than a Derek Carr. Now, granted, he does have a Devontae Adams now, but...
More well-rounded, though, in L.A.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I like Derek Carr, but he's not Justin Herbert. So.
No, not at all.
All right, Bucks and Cowboys. We're split on this one, and I can't believe you picked the Cowboys. I'll take the Bucks. I think at the end of the day, I think Brady's a better quarterback than Dak. I think coaching, Bowles, McCarthy, it's a coin flip. The backfield, I'll take the Bucks. Wide receivers, I'll take the Bucks. Offensive line's a coin flip. They're both banged up and not very good. Defense, I'll take the Bucks. I think they win at almost every level when you compare head-to-head, so I'm going to go Buccaneers over the Cowboys.
Look, I don't like the Cowboys by any means, but... There's something about this game. It gives me a gut feeling. And, I mean, we were talking about it last week in our hits and misses. Brady hasn't been as committed this offseason as he was in the past. We don't know what to expect from him. He's 45 years old. He's really snarky. He's just kind of short with the media. So it's a new Brady. I don't know what we're going to see. I don't know if it's a bit of a decline in what he's feeling and he's kind of lashing out because of it. But I just feel like there's more noise coming from the Bucks, and I feel like the Cowboys kind of have a lot to prove week one. We've been one of the shows. We've been kind of banging on them all off season, and I
will continue to.
Yeah, and we will continue to. I feel that they should be, but I feel like this is just one of those weeks they're going to come out. It's a matchup thing. I don't know what it is. I like the Cowboys to win, but then they're going to be utterly horrendous for the rest of the year.
All right, I appreciate at least that part.
There you go.
All right, Monday Night Football, Broncos at Seahawks. We both have the Broncos here. And I think we can agree that the Seahawks aren't a competitive football team right now.
Not even close.
They look like they're planning a little bit for next year. I mean, if you're going in with Geno Smith versus Russell Wilson, I'm taking Russ all day long, even if Tim Patrick's hurt. I don't know who's going to be receiver. I don't know who's playing running back. I don't know. Whatever. I don't care. I'll take Russell Wilson and the Broncos
Yeah.
pretty handily over the Seahawks.
Yeah, as well. I mean, not much has to be
All right,
said on that one.
so we're split on. You have the Bills, I have the Rams. You have the Jags, I have the Commanders. Ugh.
And I got the Cowboys, and you got the Bucks.
Yeah, so we're split on those three. The rest of our picks are in. They are locked in. We'll see how it goes. First game kicks off at, 7:30 or 8:20, something like that. I
It's
don't
like
know.
8:20
Tonight.
Yeah, on Thursday night. So everybody watch the game, but after you finish watching these first.
Oh, yeah. You want to see these, and then you want to definitely come for next segment.
Yes.
Because we got our bets, and you're going to want to get those in before game time.
Yeah, who doesn't want to make a little bit of money on week 1 of the NFL? So stick around for your chance. Next segment. Oh, what's up? We are back into the third segment here on Thursday, week 1 of the NFL, and it is time for Bets on a Budget. That is a newer segment of ours, and very excited to kind of get into it all NFL season here. Just a little way to throw a couple bucks here and there on a few games.
Make a little scratch.
Right, not going anything crazy, right? And, making at least double. At least double your money.
I mean, in one day, if we can, we're going to give you 5 bets. We can go three out of 5, hopefully more. Most of the time, I think it'll be more. So,
hey, just wanted to add too. We've kind of gotten away from our weather report in the second segment. You haven't given one in like 2 weeks now.
It's humid.
It's very humid.
Yeah, it's September, early September in
feeling good. It's feeling like football.
Pennsylvania is warm. It's toasty, but at nighttime it cools down a little bit. So
it feels like it's ready for football season.
Yeah, I agree. Very excited for football. The fact that it kicks off tonight, it's basically a holiday. I'd say it's basically it's a holiday.
I celebrate it.
It's a holiday.
Yeah.
That means 2 holidays this week because we had Labor Day on Monday, and now the start of the NFL season here on Thursday. So
yeah,
let's do it. All right, so bets on a budget. Like we said, going to give you 5 bets. If we can hit on at least 3 of them, we'll be happy campers. I think we'll end up hitting on more. Let's go. Okay, Arizona plus 5.5 versus the Chiefs. So they're at home, right?
Yeah.
And giving a home team who has Kyler Murray, which is a really talented quarterback, good amount of weapons. Now, granted, D-Hop is out, but he still has weapons. He's got Hollywood Brown, Rondale Moore. I think they still have A.J. Green. Don't quote me on that. They have Zach Ertz, though. They have plenty of weapons, and 4.5 at home with that amount of weapons is a lot of points.
It is.
And the Chiefs are good, but they do have a lot of new pieces, so who knows how good they're going to be. And plus, it's minus 105, which is, those are decent odds, given that Arizona is a very talented football team, and they're at home.
Yeah. So
I think Arizona's the right side of the bet here at plus 4.5.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, especially week 1, both teams aren't going to be like up to mid-season level yet, so you're going to have mistakes both ways. You're not going to see mid-season level Chief football.
Right.
So, I mean, these games aren't going to be finishing with, crazy. I mean, unless it's something like, the Ravens and the Jets. That's something that's get out of hand quick.
Right.
But in a game like this, Cardinals, who are a very competent team with a very good young coach, and, playing a really good team in the Chiefs, but definitely close.
I think it'll be a close game, probably a 3, maybe 4-point game.
Yeah.
Which is, again, still under the 4.5. All right, Pittsburgh plus 6.5 at Cincinnati. That's a minus 115 there if you throw some scratch on that. So you're not winning a whole slew of cash, but throw it in a parlay, who knows? Again, that's a lot of points, especially for a division rivalry. Mm-hmm. I don't remember the last time. I think maybe like once in the last 5 years, Pittsburgh's been blown out by Cincinnati. And that was when we had Big Ben at quarterback who couldn't do much offensively, right? He couldn't do much off script, couldn't do much down the field. 6.5 for a divisional game, especially when Pittsburgh has a good defense like that. So they're not going to run the score up.
That's what I was just about to say.
That's a lot of points for me. Yeah. Early in the season, divisional game, good defense. That's a lot of points.
Look,
I'll take Steelers.
Cincinnati's offense is great, but you can't ignore the fact that their offensive line is still not all the way up to par, and the Steelers' defensive line is absolutely astounding.
100%.
So that's a matchup. That's a big mismatch that the Bengals are going to have to deal with. Now, I don't see the Steelers winning. I still see our offense being a little lackluster. But here's the thing. Is Kenny Pickett really that much worse, or is a Mitchell Trubisky really that much worse than an aging old Ben Roethlisberger?
No, I'd argue they're better. I'd argue they're better.
So, I mean, look, I like the bet. I don't think Pittsburgh's going to win, but keep an eye on it.
It's a decent, against the spread, it's a good bet. All right, Denver minus 6.5 at Seattle. Again, another minus 115 there for the scratch. Look, Seattle's tanking. I mean, they're tanking. They don't really have a singular position group besides safety that I can point at and say it's above average.
Yeah.
Their backs, I think, are weak with a rookie at starting there. Their wide receivers are decent, but they have Geno Smith distributing the football to them. Their DBs are not very good on the outside. They don't get a pass rush. Their linebackers, after letting go of Bobby Wagner, are pretty weak. Denver is stronger at almost every single one of those units. I think Denver wins by about 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be close in that one.
I don't see it.
Denver is one of the most talented teams.
Not to mention they have a pass rush and Seattle doesn't have a line. So
that's a big one.
Yeah.
Kind of a worry.
That's a factor. That's something to look at there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is.
Games are often won and lost in the trenches, and I think Denver has a better unit on both sides of the ball.
I 100% agree.
All right, Rams plus 114 on the money line versus Buffalo. So I like the Rams, you like Buffalo, but regardless, you can't ignore the plus 114 for a home team.
Yeah.
The Super Bowl champs being dogs at home is pretty rare. And so now, granted, even if you like the Bills, it's at least worth maybe a back bet, right? So maybe you risk parlaying the other 4 as a back bet. You throw it on the Rams. Who knows? It's an idea.
Look, I like Buffalo, and that's just because I'm trying to predict who's going to win, right? I'm trying to predict the outcome of the game. But if I'm in the business of making money, which I am, I'm going to throw a little bit of scratch on that bet. Because, I mean, like, you're right. How often is the home team the underdog?
And especially the Rams. Like, when the Rams aren't going to be a dog in a lot of games. This actually might be the only game they're a dog in.
Crazy.
You got to jump all over that.
I'm going to jump on that. I'll put my money there for sure.
All right, final one here. Green Bay and Minnesota over the 48.5.
Oof.
That's a minus 110 there. So here's the thing about that. Early season, these teams match up. It seems like the past 3 or 4 years they've been the week 1 matchup, or at least really, really early in the season.
Yeah,
and they've put up crazy points. And so that's been with Mike Zimmer as a defensive head coach. Yeah. Minnesota's been putting up points. So I think now with Kevin O'Connell, they're going to put up points. They have Justin Jefferson. They just actually got Jalen Reagor, who I think is pretty not very good, but it's at least another weapon. He's a speed threat down the field. Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. Yeah. And then Green Bay, like you said, Aaron Rodgers is still going to be able to put up points without Devontae Adams. Now,
Absolutely.
Granted, do I think that's super sustainable over 17 games? Not really, but he's going to be out there with something to prove. I can play without Devontae. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I see Minnesota winning. We both have Minnesota. I see like a 34-30 type of game.
Big points.
Yeah. At worst, like a 31-27 feel, right? It's going to be a lot of points. They're going to get probably over 50, which, of course, is over 48.5, which would satisfy our over-under here.
That's a good one. I like that one, too.
That one's good. So we got a little bit of diversity in there. We got 3 against the spreads, 1 on the money line, and an over-under. Eventually, we'll start working in some prop bets because, you'll get into week, I don't know, like 7, right, where it's starting to look bleak for some lines.
Yeah.
Right, because you don't know what to make of it. The Bucs will be on a 3-game winning streak, but they'll go up against a really good team who's also on a winning streak, and the Bucs got someone hurt, but the other team has an injury, and you're like, well, who's better now? Who's better then? So you get a lot of like really 1.5 point spreads, or really hard to judge, and the spreads kind of shrink a little bit. So it's good to. You might see some more prop bets later in the year because it's. I wouldn't be comfortable putting some money on some of the later lines.
Oh yeah, we're going to be throwing a lot into the mix here with Bets on a Budget. But that was the second edition of Bets on a Budget. Feels good. First one of the actual season. So we'll call this one the first one.
The first one, we had a preseason. Yeah.
And I actually hit. I didn't say that on the show, but I hit.
Yeah.
And maybe I did. I don't know. Either way.
I don't know if you did or not, but you did. What did we get? We had 3 of 4 or 2 of 3?
We did 2 of 3 because we only started with 3 just to get a little preseason.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. I'll take it.
But that is all we have for you guys today. So enjoy week 1 of the NFL. Starts tonight on Thursday in LA. Watch that. Watch our video. Get to the TV
stand, man. Get to your couch.
Yeah.
Crack a cold one.
Yep.
Of whatever beverage you might choose.
Hey, could be a code.
And enjoy the game. Really enjoy the game.
Yeah, have a great night. Enjoy football. We will. And we'll catch you next week. That was The Issue.